you go. You should be good to go.
All right. And so members of the committee are hereby advised of their duty under the State Government Ethics Act to avoid conflicts of interest and are instructed to refrain from participating in any matter coming before this committee with respect to which there is a conflict of interest. All right. So I know, Bill, you weren't at the last one. Catherine, were you at the last meeting?
I have no idea.
I don't believe so. I think we have kind of like the opposite right
Gotcha.
now.
Gotcha.
So I mean, it's great feedback, frankly.
Yeah.
So
So what we did was, what we did was we took Brian's last opinion, and then Lamar had given some really good feedback about trying to really kind of parse out specific rules that we're trying to accomplish into multiple different inquiries. And then I suggested kind of a format that I like and that I think Brian liked, which was really kind of expounding even upon that, given the two different examples, and then all the ways it's not okay, and then the ways that it is okay.
Right.
And so we finally got Jack to come around, who was kind of one of the holdouts on, a lot of it was with the travel stuff. And we ultimately came up with, listen, we're giving lawyers plenty of different ways that they can create billing structures so that they can be compensated for traveling and for working at the same time without double billing people. So I've read it all. I guess I didn't know if either of y'all had any comments based on the June draft that Brian circulated.
I didn't. I thought it was great. So I read it. Maybe it was Monday. I don't know when the stuff. I can't remember what today is or what I had for breakfast, but I remember reading this when I got it via email, and I liked it. And I'm just reading it again. I don't know that I had anything, that I would have done differently or better. I thought it was spot on. I personally like all the different inquiries. Just makes it a little more simplistic and straightforward. So, yeah. But I don't know about Bill.
I'm here. I agree.
Yeah. Brian, go ahead.
Go ahead, Davis.
Well, just one suggestion for more of a consistency thing. Inquiry 9 and inquiry 10. The questions in the other ones are, can they do this? And then the questions in 9 or 10 are they prohibited from doing this? So I didn't know, maybe just from consistency's sake, if it made sense to say, because the answer is no, but the answer is yes, you can do it. But the answer is no, you're not prohibited. So I don't know. That's just one thought I had, just to be nitpicky. But
I think that's a good thought. I remember drafting it in that way, and when I was drafting it, I was intentional.
Okay.
To kind of ask the question of, it's almost like, it's not so much like, am I allowed to do this, but more like, am I prohibited from doing this? I'm like, I'm not going to say that, like, hey, yes, you're allowed to charge whatever expenses you want. Okay. It's more of just like, are you prohibited from charging expenses? Well, no, you're not. They just need to be related. Honestly, I don't know that it makes a material difference. And so if it kind of jumps out to you as kind of a strange way to read it, it's one of those things. I feel like that's a stylistic change that we can make, and maybe a decision that was made because it was a Tuesday as opposed to a Wednesday.
Yeah.
So
no, I don't have strong thoughts one way or the other. My only thought was, when I was reading, is if somebody isn't reading it carefully, which is their own fault. I look at the answer and said no. I was like, hold on a minute. I thought there was only 2 circumstances really we're saying no to. And then I look at it and then I read it and I'm like, oh, well, it says, are you prohibited? So
Right.
No, I don't care one way or the other, honestly. That was just something that I wanted to see your thought process on. And I do like your process on that.
Yeah, I think it becomes kind of a different, for whatever reason, that was the line of thinking. But that's an easy change too. This is kind of the good thing about the subcommittee process, that when this gets presented to the full committee, and for the committee is going to be paying attention to this, if they have similar feedback, what I'll do is I'll be ready to alter that, because I don't think that's a significant change at all, and it can still be ready for publication if we are at that point. But yeah, that's a pretty easy fix, and we'll just, ultimately, we want this to be readable. I don't want to trick anybody. There was an intentional thought there, but it's not one that I find material to the opinion.
Okay.
I wanted to ask though about the I added inquiry number 11, inquiry and opinion number 11. That was the catch-all. And this was in response to the very last the last aspect of our conversation. I'm going to share the screen. That we were talking about kind of, you know, a way to try to capture all this stuff that, you know, we want to let lawyers know that they can exercise their professional judgment, their independent professional judgment on creating these billing structures. The biggest thing is that, yes, it needs to be accurate, it needs to be honest. And I think we're all on the same page that the whole billing, just the hourly billing that's the problem. Hourly billing for two separate services at the exact same time, full hourly amounts, that's where you get the problem. And so I added that part in here in inquiry and opinion number 11 to basically kind of just broadly say that your billing structures may vary. And as long as you keep things accurate, honest, it's not misleading, it's not clearly excessive. And again, that also that point that the client is informed and consents to the structure, then, you know, it's almost like, I don't want to say there's a presumption of validity, but if you're following those things, and that's what you need to do in creating a billing structure, and it can look like so many different formats. You know, there's just a lot of different variation out there depending upon the needs of the representation, the client, all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to get your thoughts. Is that necessary? Was that overkill? Is it helpful? I'd love to just get everyone's thoughts here.
I personally thought it does summarize our whole goal here, which is that we're not trying to micromanage. We're trying to give you the flexibility to bill appropriately, and as long as you meet two needs or two requirements, you know, not being excessive and being honest fees, and then having informed consent, you know, in your fee agreement, whatever it is. So I think that it says it in there, and I think it would be a good conversation for the full committee.
Okay.
I agree.
And I'll add, I forgot to mention this, the last sentence was kind of a point that I make at CLEs of just the rules don't require everything to be in writing, but when you can put stuff in writing, it just it helps everybody. So that was the purpose of that. That can very easily be deleted. But I thought it seemed to fit in this moment, especially since I try to spread that word as much as I can when I'm out there educating lawyers.
Yeah, they're operating at their own risk if they don't put something in writing.
Right.
Yeah.
I like it too, because I think it solves a lot of the what ifs and the overall perspective of what we had and what we were trying to do. So I think it really is a good addition.
All right, that's great. Okay. Well, Mr. Subcommittee Chair, what do we want to do with this thing?
So what is I think we present it to the committee. I don't know the procedures of doing that, if we have to move for that in subcommittee or not, but I think that I think it's ready to present, and we can hopefully have a not too lengthy conversation about it in Asheville in July.
Yeah, I don't think you need to procedurally have a vote. Sometimes that's helpful just to kind of identify where the disagreement may lie. But if we are all on the same page that this thing is ready to be submitted for the committee with a recommendation for publication, you can make that recommendation on behalf of the subcommittee at the meeting.
Yep.
And then we can just kind of go from there, see what everybody else thinks.
Gotcha. And I may just shoot an email to the rest of the subcommittee that didn't make it today, just to say, you know, this is where we're heading, and just if I'm giving my cell phone number if anybody wants to call and talk about it or any proposed changes since they're not here. Then we can, you know, you and I can talk about that if I hear from anybody.
Yeah.
Between now and July, but I think you've done a great job with this. So I appreciate everything you've done on it.
Oh, thank you. It's been this is the product of a lot of good conversation. I think this is a very engaged subcommittee. So thanks goes to you all and Davis for you leading the conversation. So, all right, well then I'll have this thing ready. And I'll look to see your email as well. Davis, do you want me to send that email, or do you want
That's fine if you can. I'm not going to be around the computer after this for a while, hopefully.
Okay. I'll send it out so you can take that off your plate, but we'll get everybody's input if they feel differently. But then otherwise, we'll be ready to go for the meeting in July.
Cool.
All right.
Well, thank y'all, and we'll see you in a few weeks.
Great
All
meeting.
right, bye.
All right. Thank you.
All right, guys,
Bye-bye.
take care.